Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Extravagant Trade Group, and this is your end-of-day market recap for Wednesday, the 23rd of October. Sorry, I forgot the date for a second there. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. So a bit of a rocky day. Finally, we saw a little bit of a break. Last couple days this week, some of the observations were that that equities started the day in the red. Pre-market, there was some pre-market selling last couple days, and those last couple days it was essentially a little bit of buy the dip mentality that took place, and Qs kind of held in there and showed some relative strength. Today was a different situation. Today the market opened up in the red and just continued to go lower. So I'm going to start with the Qs. I'm sorry, I'm going to start with the S&P, and just noticing what happened. So first thing is that we lost the 5-period moving average, right? We kind of just were curling, and then broke it today. Another observation before I kind of get to today, sorry, is that we've seen a deterioration in breadth, right? Breadth has not been particularly good. We saw for the first time since the beginning of the month that there was more 4-week new lows in the S&P versus new highs. We saw that for a second day, like even before there was there was really a lot of volatility today. You could see that there was only 37 new highs today. Again, this is 4-week, right? So this is faster stuff. And there was 78 new lows in the S&P. So that's been ticking up. This is not does not reflect today's price action, but you could see what I'm referring to. This was yesterday where new lows really picked up and there was hardly any new highs yesterday. So we've seen this, and I run a scanner too that looks at breakouts on multiple time frames, and the number has been getting compressed and compressed and compressed over the last couple of days, where there hardly is any names that are breaking out on the weekly, daily, and 1-hour chart, versus where we were just about 3-4 days, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. You could see how many new highs were being made. So again, this market could change pretty quickly. So what happened? So where are we today? All right. So first of all, a couple of things that I noticed. Right. So here was your break. We had a test, like this is 1045 was a very much of a test there. That was, I think that's today's no, that's the value area for, yes, for the day, sorry, for the week, excuse me, and we got rejected there. Right. So we had this real nice bounce at the end of the day. Where did this bounce occur? Let's go to the 1-hour chart. You're going to see a couple things here. There's a VPOC that was taken out. This is last week's point of control. See all that volume there, right? So that was taken out. Now, again, sometimes we don't turn on a dime in these VPOCs. Sometimes we go a little bit lower or a little bit higher and then basically come back. We did touch. So here's where I thought this was pretty pivotal, because we did touch this level. And if you read my Substack, I talk about all the time support and resistance levels. And I was saying, geez, there's support all the way down here. And we actually went down here like very quickly as the selling accelerated for the day. So we bounced on support. And then we'll see if we get some follow through on the bounce. For now, I went long on this. I did reduce a good number of my positions today. It's basically, I'm more of a, what I try to be, or what I aim to be, is kind of as a classic trend trader, right? I ride the trends all the way up. Again, aim to, and then the day where things kind of break is where I'm doing selling. Now, I trim a lot too, into strength, so that I'm usually holding like the last portion of a position at this point in time, and that's basically what I had to do in like 2 or 3 positions today. Was basically just take the last portion of the position off, and then I'll just reassess. And a couple other names I took off where I didn't get targets, like TTD was a name, for example, that I took off. I wasn't able to take a target in that one. But regardless, towards the end of the day, I went long based on the top of value. So I'll be long versus this 574.43 level. Let's go through the Qs because it's a little bit of a Qs did not go down to the top of the value area. But so here's what this looked like during the day. Right, so here was the test. I actually put this on Twitter earlier, and I apologize. Sometimes I don't put a follow-up text tweet, but we kind of checked into this bottom of the value area for the day, and you can see this a little bit clearer if I just take this off here. So here you go. So the value area for the day was right in here, and this got rejected, and really rejected. We came in here, we took out this VPOC. Again, these virgin point of controls like this, these takeouts, they're an area of interest, right? It doesn't mean that there's going to be a reversal because you didn't get one here. And we carried lower throughout the trading session till about the last one was taken out just before 2 o'clock. And then we saw a nice little reversal after that. And a nice bounce there at the end of the day. So let me turn this back on. Where does that leave this? So looking at the 1 hour, notice where we checked back into at the end of the day. So right back into resistance. So here. So if you like retests, now these can happen just like we talked about with the SPY chart, but here's your breakdown and here's your retest. So this is a decision area. This is the level to watch for tomorrow. And I'm going to repeat it for you, but it's 490. Just call it 490. It's 490.04. But really let's just say 490. So here's your breakdown, retest, and then let's see what we do here. You could get a failure, just like we saw in the 5-minute value area, or we could break into this tomorrow. So it is going to be an interesting day tomorrow, considering that. But overall, when we look at this Qs chart, right, we know that this Qs has been kind of, and again, I try to just put it in very objectively, right? Speaking of virgin point of controls, we know that this one was taken out and price just never could really overtake that, right? So overhead supply, won out here. So we'll see. I mean, I think that you're going to get, obviously Tesla reported after the close. ServiceNow reported after the close. IBM, Lam Research. I think a couple of these names are up. Tesla. I think the expectations must have been pretty. Hindsight 2020, right? They probably were expectations were probably pretty low, and and we've got a nice move now. This just gets you. And again, I hate to do this because I know a lot of people are probably celebrating this move here weeks ago when this thing broke down on that robo-taxi event. So we're retracing a good portion there. We'll see what they say in the conference call. ServiceNow is one of these names where I talked about going long ServiceNow because 7 out of the last 10 quarters ServiceNow has been up. And I do think as earnings season goes on, I tend to really pay attention to how the company sets their expectations and how they deliver and how they set their guidance, how they're executing. But 7 out of the last 10 quarters, ServiceNow has gone up. Now, we don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. I don't know if their earnings call has started, but you could see that they've come down, checked down to this virgin point of control. They actually went all the way down to 856 and have rebounded a little bit. So they're basically like it's around unched at this point. I think they closed 907. So they're down a little bit from the close, but that's something that I'll be watching. Lam Research is up. Again, just kind of coming back after this big spill lower. I think that was probably on ASML, I'm guessing. So moving back a bit. IBM, I think, is down pre-market, not pre-market, but in the after hours. Here's some of the other movers. There we go. Pega is up, which is a software company. T-Mobile is up. Las Vegas Sands, I think, was down, now is up. That they announced a buyback program. ALGN is down. Newmont is down 5.6%. Interesting that I think part of the issue today too, which I think started to hear a little bit more about, but there really hasn't been that much coverage about the stronger dollar. Like this has just been ripping higher. right? That usually means risk off. That's not a good thing to see the dollar move like this. Now, it did get a little bit extended. There's a big move in the yen today, but I think that's also kind of telling a little bit. Right, we've talked about as well the bond yields going higher. I think that's gotten full coverage now, so I'm not gonna go over TLT, which was down again today, down 0.3 of a percentage point. But there are some macro headwinds going on now. So you've got your level for the Qs to watch, which I've mentioned. IWM, you know, what can you say? Like I don't see any reason to really get involved in this. Maybe you could go if you really want to, you can go long versus that 50-day moving average, but it's shoots and ladders for IWM. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And again, if you really like to try to time things, then I guess this is for you. But I try to get more of a move out of trend following than these little moves like this, because you gotta, as soon as you buy, then you gotta sell. If you sell that, and if you short, then you got to cover a couple days later. So it is more of a faster traders, maybe day trading. This did come down to a VPOC and took this out down here. So in any event, I was going to talk about just a couple names that I thought were standout. Walmart, which I thought you needed to have a little bit of patience here in Walmart. Again, it's more of a conservative type play, went inside, inside, inside. I think I got long here, and then I added somewhere in here, and the last 2 days have been pretty rewarding. This thing went bonkers today to the upside. Medtronic had a good day today too. This was on my Substack note this morning for members. Nice little, real nice break higher, check back into the top of value, and it went today. So has not reported earnings yet, but got a nice move, I think, on the back of ISRG, which is a name too. I want to talk about a couple other names. So look at ISRG, retracing a little bit of this move. A couple other names that I'm watching for tomorrow. Morgan Stanley, it just may not be there yet. I think it's got to get back above the 5-period moving average. Similarly, Taiwan Semi was something that I was watching today too, right? Big, strong earnings gap up, settling in here. Wanted to see if it was going to retake the 5-period moving average, right? And Morgan Stanley, there's one other name I was going to cover too. Oh, Meta, I was looking for Meta. I think a lot of people noticed that the chart was looking pretty good. Looked like, hey, we're going to get the turn and start to move higher. Not so fast. So a complete shakeout here in this Meta. But I would say that you've got some support to watch here. It's 562.70. All right, guys, I'll leave it there. Again, you don't have to figure out this market all in one day. I reduced some risk today. Like I said, I did add an S&P trade. We'll see how that goes. The other thing that I come back to, that I've been thinking about too, is how these months, sometimes we get a real good first half of the month and then kind of a crappy second half of the month. I kind of feel like the second half of the month is going towards that kind of crappy. We very rarely get one like full, very good month. Look at September, for example, right? September started off down, right? And then we had a very good second half of the month. But just something to keep in mind. And it's one of those things too, like if you get off to like a really good first half of the month, it's to not be super greedy, right? And have trailing stops. And that's something that we really talked about the last couple of days, is I've been carrying a decent amount of positions. Just have those trailing stops, right? And don't give it back, and I had a couple of positions where I was up decently, like took 2 or 3 targets, and the name comes all the way back to almost to your cost basis. So, it's very, very important trade management. And again, it's so important. You don't hear anything, like nobody ever talks about, how to manage losing trades. And, these, sorry, I don't mean to go on and off, on a rant, but these people on Twitter, and I've talked about this before, these people, some of them I don't think are even trading, right? They're just basically, they don't ever talk about when a trade that they mention or a name that they mention, when it goes down, they just go on to the next one, right? They go on to the next one and how great this setup is, but they give very little mention about how to manage a loser, or after pumping up a name, like what are they doing next? And for me, it's you know, always having a stop once you enter a trade, putting in a down. Also, as soon as you put on a trade, you know, I usually put out a target, right, where I want to take that first target, but it's also putting a downside alert so that you get some attention. I don't use hard stops. I use, you know, kind of more soft stops where I put an alert. So if the trade is not going off, it's not either, you know, is not getting off to a good start, or if it does start going doing well, then you want to be putting out, you know, instead of that stop loss, which was below your cost basis, you know, moving that alert up to your cost basis after the name's starting to work for you. That helps a lot with preserving some of those gains. So when there's a day like this, it ends up not being that painful. All right, guys, that's it for today's recap. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.